All right, what's good, y'all boys? Jar here back with another video. And basically, in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down and sharing my exact blueprint on how to run ads for your clothing brand and essentially what I do for my seven-figure clothing brand. And yeah, let's get right to it. So this is me. I'm a 21-year-old college dropout making millions a year with my clothing brand. I started my clothing brand Angelic back in 2022, late 2022. This is our Instagram right here. TikTok as well, right here as well. 150K followers on that. And yeah, basically this is some screenshots. I'm gonna be breaking down over like a specific time period of back to school this year, just so it's everything's congruent. You guys can see sort of what that looks like. But yeah, I hit 300K months with my clothing brand, 200K months, six-figure months, things of that nature. And yeah, let's dive straight into it. So basically, I run ads on three channels primarily. Um, First being Facebook, then being TikTok, and then Google. Right. So to give you more context, I invested over $50,000 alone in just courses, mentorships, and programs. And yeah, basically, I'm gonna just be disseminating that information that I learned to you guys in this video. Yeah, I learned a lot of things over the years. So jump straight into it. With meta ads, I'll show you exactly how I set up my winning campaigns, and then how I approach creative testing, and then how I optimize my ads. So yeah, here's my ad account right here. I'm just break down exactly how I do this. So when it comes to campaign creation, I just for the most part do one campaign strategy. So basically, you're just launching everything in one campaign. And Facebook has been pushing consolidation for the past couple years now. So everything is pretty much simplified for the most part. So now really all you have to do is just creative tests rather than just like target interest like how you used to do in the past. But daily budget $50 a day minimum. You can do $100 a day. But the absolute lowest I recommend is $50 a day. And then once you go to the ad sets, right, you're gonna choose your performance goal. I always do maximize number of conversions just so I can increase the amount of data that I'm getting into my ad account. You can try maximize ROAS, but what I found is that especially with fashion and apparel, you're actually going to get a lot of people who charge back because there's a lot of scammers over there. So I'll just keep maximizing number of conversions, especially if you're at a low daily ad spend because you want the most amount of data as possible. And then conversion event, you want to choose purchase, and then keep everything pretty much standard right here. Like I said, you don't really have to do anything. Facebook, for the most part, has been pushing consolidation in AI with Advantage Plus and whatnot. So there's nothing that you really need to change on this side of things. And then basically you go to the ad set level, or the ad level rather. And then basically this is where you upload your creatives. So I use flexible ads. So you want to do create ad, right? Then you want to do manual upload, and then you go to flexible, right? And then essentially you're just adding creatives in here. You know what I mean? So you basically add three creatives, right? And then you can do two primary text. So primary text one, right? So this is going to be your test copy, and then this will be your winning copy, right? So essentially what you're doing is creating different variables to see what matches and aligns best, right? And then headline, we're going to do the same thing. So headline one, and then winning headline, right? And the description, we're going to leave that blank because it only applies on Facebook. And if you're a apparel brand, you most likely advertise all strictly to Instagram. And then website URL, you're just going to put your URL here. And then advantage creative optimizations, I like to turn this off just because the actual enhancements are still in like the beta version, and you get actual bad results based off these little things, you know what I'm saying? So I'll keep that off. And then call to action, you do shop now, you know what I'm saying? And then basically you just add your URL parameters if you're using like Triple Whale or any third party tracking software, attribution software. And that's pretty much it for the most part. And then what I actually do is I would just duplicate this, right? And then I would choose a different URL because different URLs are going to have different performances based off your landing page, you know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much it for the most part of how I creative test. But most of the sauce and the actual, levers comes from these other things that I'm about to teach you guys. So that's just the basics, the fundamentals, you know what I'm saying? But first things first, you need to identify your target metrics, you know what I'm saying? So things like your break even ROAS. So I crafted this little Google sheet right here. So basically, let's say your cost of goods, right, is $20. Let's say for a hoodie, right, you're selling a hoodie. And then the shipping to the US is $10, right? So that means your total landed COGS is $30, right? Now let's say you charge $5 shipping, right? And it costs you $10 to ship, pick and pack, and labels to ship to the customer, right? And then you have your variable fees, whether that be transaction fees, Shopify's fees, etc. And then so your total landed COGS, your total landed cost is $37. This will be your cost of delivery. And then let's say you're selling your hoodie for $80, right? Then essentially your profit margin will be 53%, and then your profit dollars will be $42 per hoodie that you sell, and then your break even ROAS will be 1.88. So basically, essentially, if you get a ROAS of 1.88, you're not losing money, but you're not making money. But if you get a ROAS of 2, then you're making some profit off of that. And then if you get a ROAS lower than this, then you know what I'm saying, you're losing money. And then obviously you can tweak this here to mess with the formula to see what break even ROAS you can get. And ideally, the lower you can get this number down, the more opportunity that you can get to scale. And ideally, you want to be in a landed profit margin of around 60 to 70% for apparel. You know, it's going to be hard, especially with the tariffs coming up and things like that. But I can create a video on how, you know, you can leverage manufacturers and your overall supply chains to get really competitive pricing. And then, yeah, basically with this 1.88 for our model scenario. And then right here, you can plug in. So like I said, if 1.88 is your break even, but you hit that, you're not really making any money. You're pretty much breaking even. But if you hit a 2 ROAS in platform, you know what I'm saying, you get 6% margin. That's your profit dollars and so forth. You kind of get the scenario and kind of get the method right there. You know what I'm saying? So you can really see your numbers. But it's really important that you're clear, because everyone doesn't really know their numbers, especially in the apparel game that I've, you know what I'm saying, tend to notice. So it's really important that you identify what target KPIs you need to hit. You know what I'm saying? Because people might think that a 3 ROAS is good, right? While it might be good for a majority of businesses, if your COGS were super high, you know what I'm saying, you could actually be losing money because your break-even ROAS in this case would be 6.5. You know what I'm saying? If your COGS were that high, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of a little insight onto that. Now, moving into how I optimize my ads, which I think is the most important part when it comes to this part. And I'll just quickly show you guys. Let me close this out. How I optimize everything. Boom, boom, boom. Sort by amount spent. Let me discard these. Boom. So this was during our little back to school season this year. As you can see, performance on in platform was pretty good, around a 3 return on ad spend in platform. Now I could have scaled a lot more in platform, because these are actually too good of metrics to have in platform. Because if you guys don't know, Facebook actually has incrementality to it. You know what I'm saying? So in platform measurement is always usually understated from a MMM standpoint when you look at, you know, total incrementality and the overall growth that Facebook provides. But the reason why I didn't scale so much is because we were actually throttled a lot by our inventory, you know. So we had real inventory constraints, you know what I'm saying? So that just goes into the fact that, you know, business is a lot more nuanced than just pushing buttons in an ad account. You know what I'm saying? You have other things that you have to consider as well. You know what I'm saying? But in this scenario, everything's pretty healthy from the ad account side perspective thing. So there's not really any clear optimizations to be made from this side of things, but I can go into the last like 3 days, so I can give you guys some more recency. And there's some levers that we can do here. So last 3 days, still heavily throttled by inventory constraints. We're getting that fixed up right now, but as you can see, our high spending ad is actually a catalog ad. So, oh shit. Yeah, so it's actually a catalog ad. For you guys who don't know, catalog ad simply just pulls all the products from your website and shows them to people who are in market to buy. You know what I'm saying? So it does a lot of retargeting. So you're going to see the frequency here be a little bit higher, as you can see. And then essentially, Yeah, that's catalog ads. And then this is our first real ad. Say it's rows of three. Another ad, two rows, et cetera, et cetera. So from first things first, looking at things, I can see that this ad right here, DCT 265, is lagging. You know what I mean? And when it comes to making optimizations with your ad account, is essentially just removing the weakest link. So essentially, right, you have a team of creatives, right? Because creatives don't work in isolation. You want to think of it like it's a team, right? So you're gonna have certain creatives that do really good and some certain creatives that do bad. And essentially, just by removing the weakest link, then you can improve the overall performance of the ad account. So since this creative is spending $100 a day or $100 over the 3 days, you know what I'm saying, and it has a ROAS of 1.55. It's not a long enough time period to make decisions off of. But if I was just looking at it at a longer time horizon, then I can be like, okay, 1.55, it's lower than the performance of these other ads, and it's at lower spend, so that's an automatic kill. And then yeah, I'll just kind of apply that same logic to everything else. But these are also different campaign objectives and newly launched creative, so it takes some time to exit the learning phase. But that's kind of how I approach things. Yeah, as you can see here, that's kind of how I approach things. And then yeah, basically when it comes to optimizations, that's the in-platform sort of things. But firstly, I want to look at overall business performance. So you got things called MER and AMER, MER and AMER. Fuck. So basically, what those are is your ROAS at a business level. So with MER, that's your total revenue divided by total ad spend. You know what I'm saying? So essentially, if you spend $1,000 on ads, in a day, and you make $3,000 in revenue, then your MER is 3. You know what I mean? And AMER is essentially your new customer revenue minus your total ad spend. So how much of that revenue came from new customer revenue? So that's gonna tell more of a holistic story into how your acquisition efficiency is going. You know what I'm saying? Because MER can get clouded when you're running like new drops, whether you're sending emails and things of that nature. But yeah, it's important that you also know your just like you need to know your break even ROAS for each offer that you're running on Meta. You need to know your break-even ROAS and things of that nature. Your target KPIs, rather, for your whole business as a whole. So for me personally, anecdotally, I like to aim for like around a 3 to 3.2 MER. And then based off that, I'll just scale up budget. And then diving a layer deeper than that, you have contribution margin, which is essentially your revenue minus variable expenses. So basically, this just shows you the actual contribution profit that you're driving. So basically, if I were to explain this, right? Oh shit, let me get here. If I were to explain this, you basically have, right, revenue, right? And then you also have minus COGS, right? And then you got to add, subtract ad spend, and then transaction fees. Let me drag this over here. You got fees, right? And then pretty much every other variable expense, right? So after that, then you would get your actual contribution margin. And basically, let's just give an arbitrary number of $100, right? But if you have fixed overhead, right, because you're a business, you have employees, you have softwares and things of that nature, and let's say your daily fixed expenses is $200, you know what I mean? Now you know that, okay, after everything, my revenue, my COGS, all my variable expenses, I'm only driving $100 in contribution dollars. You know what I mean? Then you know that at the end of the day, you're gonna net negative $100. You know what I'm saying? So you need to drive the overall contribution dollar volume up. You know what I'm saying? So that can actually mean that you actually get a lower efficiency. You know what I'm saying? So let's say you're at a 4 MER, right? You're at a 4 MER. So you're at a business level, you're at a 4 ROAS, right? But you're only driving $100 in contribution dollars. Then you're still netting $100 at the end of the day, negative, right? So obviously you want to make money as a business, you know what I'm saying? So paradoxically, you actually want to increase the overall margin or volume of this, right? So you can only do that by increasing ad spend. So you might increase ad spend, right? But your MER might drop to, let's say, a 3, right? But the result of that, you have a lot more volume going in. So although you're making at a slight less efficiency, let's say now you're making a $300 contribution margin, right? Now $300 minus $200, now you're netting plus $100 a day. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the nuance that goes into that. You know what I mean? Now, when it comes to ad level optimization, I kind of give you guys a little sneak peek, but that's just in platform. You can also take a look at things like Triple Whale's attribution softwares and tools. You know what I mean? They have different attribution models that you can look at, and then different attribution windows that you can look at as well. And then as you can see, you get different reported metrics. So like in platform, I'm getting a 2.33, but in Triple Whale, I'm getting 1.65 and so forth. So that can help you make some ad level optimizations there. You know what I mean? But you want to be careful, you know what I'm saying? Because ads that typically have a high spend, they're going to have lower efficiency and a lower ROAS. And that's typically because they're filling the funnel, right? So technically, let me just break this down for you guys. So let's say we have a funnel, right? Boom. You got top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, right? Now, essentially, top of funnel ads, right? There's going to be your ads that are reaching net new people, right? Driving a lot of interest and awareness to your business. And these ads are typically more engaging, usually videos, you know what I'm saying? Things that people interact with, and, you know, that's inherently engaging to the platform. And then bottom of funnel ads are typically going to be, you know, just sales ads, like offer ads, like, oh, this you can get two for $100, right? And it's not engaging. It only appeals to people who know about your brand. You know what I'm saying? So while these might have a better ROAS per se, they only have a good ROAS because your top of funnel ads are driving all that traffic to the bottom of funnel. So if you kill the top of funnel ad that has a lower ROAS, you know what I'm saying, your actual funnel is going to dry out, and then your bottom funnel ad is going to do bad, and then your overall business is going to go down. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's kind of that. And then I kind of skipped over this, but you can also use MMM and incrementality tools. So post purchase surveys, and Triple Whale has one with total impact, and then basically it actually takes what people are saying, how they actually found out about your brand, and what led them to purchase, and taking that into account when it shows you when it comes to attributing sales. So you can actually get a top down perspective onto what actual channels are driving the most impact. And then after you do that, you just want to monitor downstream effects, after you make your ad level optimizations, because if you're making changes, you want to realize what those changes are having. And if you want to realize what effects those changes are having on your business, you know what I'm saying? So whether that's a net negative or net positive, you want to monitor the next 7 days, 3 to 7 days, and compare that to the lagging 3 to 7 days. You know what I'm saying? You want to monitor those changes. So if you kill an ad, right, and your business overall is improved, then that's a good change. But if you kill an ad and your business suffers for the next 3 to 7 days, then you know that was the variable that needs to be toggled back on and fixed, right? Now, moving to TikTok ads, or actually, let me show you guys some creatives that were doing well during this time period. Top spending ad spent 2,000. Let's see here, and it's just dynamic creative. I want to stay. As you can see, just showing off the zip ups, UGC style content native to the platform. You know what I mean? Simple as that. Here we got 268. This is just a review about the school drip you need, things of that nature, right? Let me show you this one. Just lifestyle, showing off the product, lifestyle edit, things of that nature. And then here we got a static, just showing off the fit that you can put together with it. As you can see, as you can see, it's pretty simple. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just showing off the product. Fashion is simple. See it, like it, buy it. So that's really much all to it. TikTok ads, it's pretty much the same concepts and same principles as meta ads, because it's all machine learning at the end of the day. And yeah, I'll show you guys kind of the ads during this time period as well. Here we go here. How do you view this? Show you this. Showing off the product, as you can see. Showing off the product. And then when it comes to creative testing, I typically do like 3 concepts a week, and it varies depending on like how much I'm spending, as well as what the current needs of the ad account are. Because at the end of the day, if you have a good ROAS per se and good overall good business performance, then you already solved the problem. You know what I mean? Because like all it comes down to with ads is you're just trying to figure out how to unlock more spend. You know what I mean? And once you figure out that problem, once you solve that problem, then just simply scale up your budgets. Don't introduce new variables into the machine and launch new ad creatives. You know what I'm saying? Um, so that's a tip for you guys there. Yeah. And then as you guys can see, this kind of a bottom of funnel ad, like I mentioned previously, 4.38. It's a lot higher than a lot of these, and it's simply a carousel statics of the product. So just basically like a more bottom of funnel ad. You know what I mean? People who've seen the brand, you know, getting hammered with that. Now, Google Ads, a lot of people don't actually run Google Ads, but Google Ads are pretty simple once you get it set up. Basically, I just run PMax. Keep it real simple. You're not gonna see a lot of budget and a lot of volume with Google Ads, but it's nice to have just that omni channel presence. I spend like $50 a day on Google Ads. Nothing crazy. You know what I mean? You're not gonna see really any big incremental lift unless you're doing like big shopping campaigns or testing out YouTube or whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much it from a holistic standpoint. But it's important that you don't get caught up in all the noise. You know what I mean? Especially when starting out, you want to consolidate your efforts onto one channel. You know what I'm saying? So if you only have a budget, let's say of $100 a day, you know what I mean, then I would just focus all of that budget on meta ads. You know what I mean? There's no reason for you to split up your budget between these 3 platforms. You know what I mean? Because it's inherently you're just splitting up the amount of data that you're driving for these ad platforms. And in order for ads to perform well, you need to have a good amount of data, right, in a stable ecosystem, because you have to get out of that learning phase. You know what I mean? So if I had $100, I'm just focusing on meta ads entirely. You know what I mean? Even if I had $1,000 a day, budget, I'm still focusing mostly on meta ads. You know what I mean? Because even for most ecom brands, like 80% of their ad spend is going to meta ads. You know what I mean? Like you can get some spend on TikTok ads, but you're really not going to unlock that much scale. And then Google Ads is always very low budget. But really, if you want to scale, you want to use meta ads and really hone in on that. And then I know I mentioned it prior, but don't look at ads in isolation. Your business is a funnel. Your job is to improve that funnel, and ads is only one part of that funnel. You know what I mean? So to dive deeper into that, when people think of, oh, I need to increase my ad performance, they only think about the ad account itself, but there's other things and other levers that actually affect the performance of the ad account, right? So number one, ad creative, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. Like, this is what people see, you know what I mean? So having a good ad creative is gonna sell to click and get people to your website. And then number two is just having the right product and offer, you know what I mean? So like, this product appeals to different type of people, and this product appeals to different type of people. You know what I mean? And this product costs $58. You know what I mean? And this product costs $130. You know what I mean? So it's two different avatars and two different offers. You know what I mean? And yeah, just having different products and different offers can really can really impact the performance of your business. You know what I mean? And then moving to landing pages and CRO testing, conversion rate optimization. You know what I mean? This is intelligence. But yeah, just constantly testing new things on your site to improve overall conversion rate, revenue per visitor, and ultimately the North Star profit per visitor. Right here, this was a test. As you can see, huge lift, huge lift right here. You know what I mean? And that. Ooh, shit. Now, other hidden needle movers are going to be your organic presence and social proof. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're a new brand, right, and you don't have any like followers or any tagged or any social proof in general, it's going to be hard to convert the sale, because a lot of people are skeptical, especially with people getting caught up in the pre-order method or what have it, you know what I mean? And they're worried about their order not getting shipped. But once you have like social proof, like I have 100K followers here and 100K followers here, it makes it a lot easier to actually get a sale, right? Because people actually know you're a real established brand. And then brand affinity, and then a big factor is inventory levels, right? Inventory levels is huge. Yeah, because like a lot of the times you can have all of this in check, right? But if you don't even have the inventory to sell it, then you're not gonna make the sale. Like it's pretty much that simple, right? Can't buy what you don't have in stock. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of everything. Kind of getting blown up on WhatsApp. So I'm a end the video right here. But yeah, this is how I run ads for my 7-figure clothing brand. If you guys want more one-on-one help, you guys can apply in the description below. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.